Tongs.
You know, we're really starting the show with bathroom humor. I feel like this is like 1974, and I'm at St. Ignatius College Prep with some other doofuses doing bathroom humor. Really?
The thing about salad tongs is you do then have to wash them in case you were going to grill and you were going to turn over, steak or pork chops.
It's an all-time low. It's an all-time low.
They're really good.
Welcome
to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, should Notre Dame stay in the ACC? Does Ohio State need to blow out Northwestern?
No.
And are we about to see the revenge of Freddie Kitchens? But we begin today with tonight's Thursday night game where the Raiders host the Chargers with what feels like the Raiders season on the line. What started out so promising when the Raiders beat the Chiefs has turned into a slog. The Raiders have lost 3 of 4. They just fired defensive coordinator Paul Gunther, John Gruden's longtime friend. Wilbon, is tonight a must-win in Gruden's second go-around with the Raiders?
Well, Tony, if by must-win we're talking about big picture, like are they going to throw John out? No, they're not. But is he going to make something of this season and get to the playoffs and sort of take that step that justifies all the money the Raiders are paying him over whatever it is, like 10 years? Then, yeah, it's probably a must-win for that. Tony, you mentioned having lost 3 or 4. Tony, the one game they won, they got outplayed by the Jets. And they should have lost that game, which means they're essentially looking at being outplayed 4 consecutive games. So they need to get this turned around. If they don't get it turned around, they're just like all the others that are going home soon.
Yeah, so you look at the Raiders and you look at their offense, and their offense has improved. I've got a couple of numbers here. They've gone from number 28 to number 24 to 11 this year. You like the tight end, Waller. You like the running back, Jacobs. You like the quarterback, Carr. They're all having good years. The defense has been terrible, though. And Gruden may have fixed the offense over the 3 years there, but he hasn't fixed the defense. They're number 28 in points against. I mean, I look at this game, and I agree with you completely. It's not like John Gruden's job is on the line. But if you lose this particular game, then it sort of feels like you've plateaued and that you're just another sort of ordinary team with a sort of a fluky win. Now, I think they're going to win, and I think they have a path to the playoffs. I think if they beat Miami and then they get at Denver, then you could see real great improvement because they went from 4-12, Mike, to 7-9. They got 7 wins already. Losing this game, I think it's deflating losing this game.
Tony, I would agree with you on that. And this is a real rival they're playing tonight. It's not just, some other game. This is a team that they've had success against. It has been very triumphant in terms of the way it feels. And there's been some despair in certain losses. And, both these franchises, Tony, have mostly come up short lately. I mean, neither one of them has had the kind of run in the last few years that you say, oh, wow, I can't wait to see fill in the blank, the Raiders. I can't wait to see fill in the blank, the Chargers. I think the Raiders should and will win this game. But, Tony, we've said that about the Raiders in various games over the past 6-7 years, right? And they lose mostly.
No, I don't think they've won a playoff game since 2002. I could be wrong on that. But it's a long time for them.
Yes.
It's a very long time. But, the trajectory for Gruden, at least on offense, has been up.
Can I just add this? The Chargers, with what used to be the baby blues, they've gone out and they've got this fraudulent blue. Just for TV, like some TV executive convinced them that the way the logos is slightly bolder. Either put on the baby blues or go back to some junk. Don't do this halfway. These teams are so lazy now when it comes to being committed.
I love this.
Some commitment.
I love working with Halston. I love that you do this about fashion. Good for you.
Notre Dame is less than 48 hours away from its first conference championship game of any kind. But should there be more? The Irish have delivered terrific ratings for NBC against schools like Duke, and especially Clemson, and outgoing ACC Commissioner John Swofford, get out, make room, says the arrangement has been a win-win. Tone, should Notre Dame football stay in the ACC?
Well, I love the Don Ohlmeyer quote that the answer to all your questions is money. Mm-hmm. And I assumed, Mike, until I learned differently today, I assumed that NBC was paying Notre Dame a bonanza. Then I found out it was $15 million.
Come on.
Yeah. I don't mean to laugh at $15 million, but the ACC pays all of its members $27 million for all sports. And even if you add the $7 million that Notre Dame gets from the ACC for non-football, they're making less money than Wake Forest, which is astonishing to me because they're Notre Dame. If Notre Dame doesn't do this, I'm thinking the only reason they wouldn't do it is sort of pride, like we're Notre Dame and we've never been in a conference. But Mike, if you're in a conference and you can win a conference championship, that's the easiest way into the college football playoffs.
Yeah, this story annoys me on a lot of levels. First of all, I'm laughing. I'm sorry. This is the only context in which I'm going to laugh at $15 million. Because you know how much the Big Ten teams get for turning the lights on? Try $52 million, all right? Now, I'm not a math major, and neither are you, but that's a hell of a lot more than Notre Dame's getting. So that makes me happy, actually, Tony. And the reason why this story annoys me on so many other levels is that if you think if Notre Dame was in the Big Ten, where I'm happy not to have them, but where they should be geographically and in terms of mission and all that, you think an Ohio State Notre Dame Big Ten championship game wouldn't get the same numbers or better than Clemson Notre Dame? Of course they would. Notre Dame, as much as I like to act like I hate them, and I don't, it's like making fun of them. Tony, when Notre Dame shows up, they're going to get the rating. They may not get the money. Talk about, really, who negotiated that deal? But it doesn't matter who Notre Dame is with. They don't have to play in the ACC. They can be independent. They can make more money with better negotiating. And they can be in the Big Ten and make a whole hell of a lot more money because we print money in that conference.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe it had to do with geography, but, that all the schools are Southeastern. But Pitt and BC and Syracuse are in the ACC. Look, if I were Notre Dame, Mike, this is what I would do. I'd go to them. I'd go to NBC and I would say, we're delivering better numbers than we ever have. We're giving you markets in Alabama and South Carolina that you never had. So we'll keep most of our ACC schedule, but you got to give us more money because we're the draw. That's what I would do.
But you know what? If you're the draw, then you don't need to deliver other people. What does Notre Dame care about the South? We don't get regional here. Let's have real talk. Notre Dame doesn't give a damn about the South or the
Mike,
Southeast. They can make the money.
Stop for a second.
What?
You're already getting the Midwest if you're Notre Dame. If you add something you haven't had before, that's more bang for the buck. Let's move to a story that I'm calling a Wilbon special.
What?
It's about Northwestern being a sacrificial lamb. Ohio State DB Shaun Wade is saying the Buckeyes not only have to beat Northwestern in the Big Ten title game on Saturday, but they have to beat Northwestern down. Wade said, quote, "We definitely have something to prove. Like I'm telling my teammates, we have to blow them out." Wilbon, does Ohio State really have to blow you out?
That's how they should feel. That's how they should feel. They're playing for something enormous. They're playing for the right to be in the national semifinal. That's how they should feel. You know how I feel about this topic always in every sport. When people say, oh, my God, they should have taken a knee. No, make them take a knee. We got a team. We got guys on scholarship. We got some guys who are going to play on Sunday. Not as many as Ohio State, all right? But there have been a couple of games. 2 years ago, Tony, that game was competitive against Ohio State in that same stadium. For 3 quarters, Ohio State pulled away in the fourth quarter. Ohio State's a better team on paper, no question. But that's why we played the games. If they feel they need to blow us out, it's up to us to go out there and say, no, you're not blowing us out. We're going to compete with you now. So I don't give a damn what Wade says or anybody else wearing
See, I think Ohio
colors.
State only has to win by 1 point.
I
Northwestern is a one-loss ranked team, a good team. You beat them by 1 point. You're then 6-0, and you're the Big Ten champs, and you're getting into the college playoff.
Are you sure?
I'm so tired of. Yes. And let me go through this, because I'm tired of you saying that football is simply a Southern sport, that the committee only wants Southern schools.
I didn't say it's a Southern sport. I'm saying the committee wants that.
They have been holding this spot for Ohio State all season long. They're going to get a Big Ten champion, and if Ohio State wins, they're going to get an undefeated Big Ten champion. 1 point is good enough, and they're in. Texas A&M is not keeping them out.
I agree with you. If Ohio State wins, they get that spot. I agree with you on that. I'm just saying, don't tell me the committee care. The committee needs Ohio State. Otherwise, they look like they've just rolled over. And they'd rather have 4 Southern teams, which is what they'd be fine with. Yeah, they'd be fine with that.
No, it's not.
I'm not defending this committee.
They want
you can defend what they did this week if you want. The committee embarrassed itself this week. So my point is,
we agreed on that.
Ohio State, if they win this game by whatever margin, I believe they will get in. period.
Yeah,
but they
they
should. I understand why Wade is saying what he's saying. I understand if Ohio State feels that way.
Fine. That's fine. There are two comparable schools that they played, and you're aware of this. This is why Ohio State is favored. They played Nebraska. They both played Nebraska, and they both played Michigan State. Ohio State beat Nebraska by 35 and Michigan State by 40, and Northwestern beat Nebraska by 8 and lost to Michigan State. That's why Ohio State's favored,
and
but I wish you luck.
And they should be.
I wish you luck. Let's take a break.
We can use it.
Coming up, the Seahawks got off to a fast start this season, but they're running into a better team in the Washington football team this weekend.
Man, Cam Newton faces Tua and the Dolphins this weekend. Which one would you rather have for this matchup? Toss-up is next. What percentage of Americans do you think could separate Washington from the other Washington? What percentage of Americans now?
I'm hoping 100%.
Oh, well, you'd be a fool. I'm going with 40.
What do you think it is?
40%.
You think that
40%?
people think...
Part of the interruption is presented by Bullet Bourbon Whiskey, part of Happy Hour.
Time for Toss-Up, where I play the role of heavily favored Ohio State, and Wilbon plays the role of comically huge underdog Northwestern. What's first?
Toss-up, they play Sunday. Who you got, the Seahawks or the football team?
I think I've got Seattle. They're 3-1 in East Coast games so far this year, so they're not troubled by the trip. I'm anxious about the quarterback circumstance for Washington.
Yeah.
I'd feel more comfortable with Alex Smith than Dwayne Haskins. This is odd, Mike. This could be a preview of the first round of the playoffs. If Seattle stays as a wild card at number 5, they get to play the NFC East winner, which might very well be Washington. If I were Seattle, I'd rather play Washington, where home field means nothing, than have to play either the Rams or Tampa Bay. The way I look at the game is very simple. Can Washington's defense, which is now number 6 and improving all the time in terms of points scored, can they stop Russell Wilson? Wilson, this surprised me. It surprised me, Mike, to find out he's been sacked 40 times.
He's been sacked a lot.
I didn't know it was that many.
Listen, the Washington football team has won 4 straight, and they've won it on the strength of their defense, right? Only one of those teams figures to be a playoff team, and that would be Pittsburgh, but that was a unbelievably impressive win as far as I'm concerned for the Washington football team. I don't care if Pittsburgh has stumbled or not. But the question is, Tony, can Russell Wilson stay upright and be the Russell Wilson we saw in the first third of the season against that defense, which in this latest third of the season is wow. I mean, they have controlled action, particularly that front 7. I'm going to take the Washington football team at home to beat
Good for you. You're such a homer. That makes me happy.
Right.
Next.
Toss-up, they play Sunday. Who would you rather have at quarterback, Cam or Tua?
So I love this matchup, but not for the quarterbacks. I love it for the coaches. Can a pup of Belichick beat Belichick? He didn't do it the first time around. I think New England just ran. They got 217 yards rushing, and they ran Miami out of the gym. This one, to me, Mike, feels like Miami's season. If they lose this, they're going to fall behind Baltimore for the wild card in the playoffs. If they win this, they can maybe get to the playoffs. It's a real big deal. In terms of the quarterbacks, Cam Newton can't pass. I mean, it's 16 games in a row that he's played where he's either got 1 or no touchdown passes. Do I like Tua? Yeah. Do I love him? No. And Belichick beats rookie quarterbacks 21-5 all time.
Well, there you have it. We can roll right to the commercial break now, all right? Because only one thing matters, that Belichick is 21-5 against rookie quarterbacks. And that's what Tua is, making his second start. It's against Belichick more than it is against Cam Newton. I keep waiting. I keep thinking maybe I'm hoping more than, can point to any analytics. But don't you think that Cam has one great game left in him this season? And maybe this
I'd like to see it.
One where he throws for 250 yards and also rushes for 2 touchdowns. He stays upright, grass stains free on the back of his jersey. I keep waiting for one of those. But more importantly, Belichick, 21-5 against neophytes.
Right. And a couple of weeks ago, he beat Justin Herbert, who we think is good, 45-0.
0. Yeah.
Thank you, and tip
Take
your
it
waiter
away.
on the way out.
Yeah.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, Duke posts a win over Notre Dame. Are the Blue Devils back on track?
And is Freddie Kitchens ready to get his revenge on the Browns? I think I remember Freddie Kitchens. Is he a country singer? Freddie Kitchens?
No.
Who was
he? No. But he had a short run on one of these teams.
Oh,
he had a
okay.
Short run.
All right.
Yeah.
You can refresh my memory during
we'll
the break.
Bourbon, highly awarded high rye whiskey. Enjoy responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Happy time, people. Happy 22nd birthday, J.K. Dobbins. You may remember the Ravens rookie running back smashing through Browns safety Andrew Sendejo on a 2-point conversion this past Monday night, sending Sendejo into concussion protocol. Dobbins tweeted snarkily about it, but quickly deleted the tweet and said he respected Sendejo. Dobbins was the first back ever at Ohio State to run for 1,000 or more yards as a freshman, sophomore, and junior. He left Columbus with more rushing yards than anybody but Archie Griffin. In 3 years, Dobbins scored 38 touchdowns, averaged more than 6 yards a carry. In his final college season, he had 2,003 yards on the ground. This year in Baltimore, he has 504 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns on a team that thinks run first. Dobbins, who was Baltimore's second-round draft pick, is the third leading rusher behind Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards, and among them, they have 17 rushing touchdowns.
Well, you were in a paragraph out of Ohio State with Archie Griffin.
Yeah.
I mean, that sort of stands alone, does it not? And you know what? Baltimore,
yes.
Your boy down in Tampa talking about their identity. They don't have an identity. Baltimore has an identity. You know what they want to do. They know what they're going to do. And the hell if you can stop them some nights. And Dobbins is now in that. He is in that program.
Yeah. Not so happy anniversary, Cleveland Browns fans. On this day 25 years ago, the Browns played what was supposed to be their final home game in Cleveland after owner Art Modell announced he was moving the team to Baltimore the following year. It was a devastating day for Browns fans who are famously rabid and loyal. As the clock wound down on the Browns' existence, fans began to grab seats and hurl them onto the playing field. They tore chunks out of the bleachers, started fires inside the stadium. That was the final event ever at Cleveland Municipal Stadium. After 58 years, it was demolished 11 months after the Browns left town. 4 years later, the NFL gave back the Browns in the form of an expansion team. Same uniforms, same helmets, same name, but a different owner, Al Lerner. There were lots of franchise relocation in the 90s. Houston Oilers went to Tennessee. Los Angeles Rams went to St. Louis. Los Angeles Raiders returned to Oakland. By the way, in this game, the Browns beat the Bengals 26-10 on their way to a 5-11 finish for a promising young coach named Belichick.
Tony, I went to a lot of games in that old Cleveland Stadium down on the lake where the new stadium is as well. And I was at games like the drive and the fumble. And so last week when the Browns lost that incredible game to Baltimore and people said, oh, it shows they're on their way up, I flinched. Like a lot of people who've been in Cleveland for those games, I thought to myself, oh, my God, this is the way the Browns have lost games forever. I hope they can rise and get away from that, man. But games in that stadium, you were in that stadium a few times. Did that place not pulsate when they had 80,000 fans in there, especially in prime time?
Freezing and wonderful.
Oh, my God.
Happy trails to coaching Sunday night for Giants offensive coordinator Jason Garrett. Garrett has tested positive for the coronavirus, will not be available to call plays against the Cleveland Browns Sunday night. In a small and lovely irony, Giants tight ends coach Freddie Kitchens will call the plays. Kitchens, you'll remember, was head coach of the Browns last year, getting fired after finishing 6-10 in his only year as head coach. So the plot thickens, doesn't it? Kitchens got that job despite never having even been a coordinator because ownership felt he would be the one to guide Baker Mayfield to greatness. Mayfield actually regressed under Kitchens, but has made notable progress this season under Kitchens' replacement, Kevin Stefanski. Kitchens landed at the Giants because of his ties with Giants head coach Joe Judge. The two worked together at Mississippi State.
After an emotional and difficult loss, we talked earlier in this show about the Raiders coming back after playing Kansas City, and we thought, oh, yeah, they're right there. And they just haven't been able to get up off the floor since. The question to me is similar about the Cleveland Browns coming off of this loss to the Baltimore Ravens that was spectacular. Everybody said, oh, it's the greatest game of the year, which it may be. How are they going to do? Aren't they in a sort of a need to absolutely win situation this week against the Giants?
You make a very good point. Make a very good point there. Let us go to the big finish if we could. This weekend's Maryland-Michigan State football game canceled due to COVID. Your thoughts?
It seems like, Maryland's played, I guess, 5 games. Seems like they played twice. They're a team that has really been victimized, one of many, this season by the goings-on of the pandemic. Henrik Lundqvist will miss the upcoming NHL season due to a heart condition. Is he a big loss for the year Cappy's Tone?
First, let's wish him luck. We don't know if he's a loss for the Capitals because he's never played for them. Their big loss was Braden Holtby, so we don't know. The Orlando Magic will allow 4,000 to attend home games to start the season. Does that make sense?
Do they always have more than 4,000 every night during the regular season and better times anyway? I don't know. Jay Wright beat Butler for his 600th win last night. You impressed?
He's a terrific coach. He's got 2 rings. He's a great dresser.
Yeah.
He's a good fella.
Best dresser.
Last one, Duke beat Notre Dame last night. Back on track.
Man, we don't need to pronounce Duke back. When they're great again, we'll know it. Not yet.
Out of time. Try and do better than the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now, here's SportsCenter.